In the UK, we have the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974, which, when I was working in my previous life, as if you like the central gospel to everything. We didn't move without knowing it. Yeah, everything we did was subject to this Act of Parliament, which is still very far-reaching and very, very, well, that's from over 1974, 50 years old. It's still very, very current. There's some news items the past week have highlighted. Yeah. Now, there is a similar code in the US. It's called the OSHA code, Occupational Safety and Health at Work, I think, or something. Yeah. Now, these are very, very important, obviously, because they ensure when we go to work, we understand our responsibilities and our employers and understand responsibilities and responsibilities to each other. Yeah. I mean, in the UK, it doesn't matter who you are, you can be held accountable if there is an incident in the workplace. Yeah. Either internal within the company or hopefully not, but externally as well, under a criminal investigation, quite literally. Yeah. But I don't get down too far into that today. Yeah. I mean, I live with this on site manager and everything else. We had this drummed into us. Now, despite all this, and this has been going on for years, and certainly there's been, everything you do, there's briefings and everything else. The number of deaths in the construction industry of workers increased effectively last year, or the past couple of years, funny enough. Yeah. The latest annual data shows 51 construction workers died of injuries on site in the year to 31st of March 2024. Sorry, so it's 2023, because obviously things are a year late, the year coming out. Now, that's a lot. I mean, one death is one death too many on any project. It's what I've always been told, certainly in recent years. To have 51 deaths, let's just always remember, that's just not one person affected. That's okay. Their members, their family members, anyone that witnessed it, people around, work colleagues. I mean, I've been on a site where somebody died under different circumstances. It still affects you because you build a relationship with people, whatever that is. Yeah. The total was more than double any other industry. Okay, with 23 fatalities recorded in agriculture, forestry, and fishing sector. Yeah. Okay, fishing is a dangerous occupation. Fishermen are a hard breed, but again, modern systems or safety equipment has probably reduced their fatalities. Yeah. Agriculture, again, you've got to think what agriculture machines do. They rip, they grind, you do lots of other things that are highly destructive. Good reason. You get on the wrong end of one of them, your day's not going to end well. Forestry is obviously, you have lots of equipment in forestry that cuts and grinds and does other things as well. Yeah. So obviously, but in the construction industry, yes, more deaths than total other UK sectors. Deaths in construction made up more than a third of the UK total of all sectors. 138. Yeah. Okay, well, obviously, we all know that construction is a dangerous occupation. And even do what I did on the railways, you could argue that I was probably in the second or third most dangerous sector, potentially. Yeah, we had different things. We had great big chunks of metal trains running at us. Yeah. Which now brings me into, then my point here. Recently, in last week, there was a death in 2019 of 2 railway workers. Last week, Network Rail were fined £3.5 million for, not setting up a safe system of work. Yeah. So it's 2 guys, late 50s and early 60s. One was late 50s, one's early 60s. Yeah. Probably both looking forward to retirement. Didn't make it. Yeah. And obviously yeah, everything that involves with that. Yeah, really, train ran down. There should have been a manual system. I've done all this. Lookout wasn't in place. Something went very, very wrong, whatever it was. Yeah, again, I've read the details, but this is not what my thrust of this is today. Now I'm going to start raising some interesting points here. I mean, I find it very strange that government bodies get fined by another sector of government, in effect, and get money taken off them when they need the money. I.e., railways need money. The health service is always getting fined for things, I believe. Yeah. Other government bodies get fined. So it's, if you like, taking taxpayers' money off them. Yeah. And fair payers when they need the money in an investment, possibly on other things. They don't really suffer. Nobody really suffers. It's not like a private business suffering. Yeah. So I find that very strange that a government body effectively gets fined. I've always found that a bit weird. Okay. Okay. Individuals there. As it was always put to me, it could be your funeral. Somebody else has to live with the consequences. Or if you cause an incident, even if you're not directly involved with it, or, didn't mean to, you have to live with the consequences as well. Yeah. But yes. But yeah, when are you looking at this? I've done all the safety strategy training and everything else in my past. Yeah. And it's all good. On paper, it looks brilliant. Yeah. We all know not to do things. We all know what to do. But when I have seen people in the UK arguing about how to set up a safety system, I don't think that's a very good safety system. Yeah. It's not clear. A safety system to me is it's in place or it's not in place. Yeah. This sort of thing, well, this is how we do it. Now we should do it like this. It's not clear. Stop job at that point. Yeah. Let's have a think about this. It's been written by somebody that possibly sits in an ivory tower somewhere, who's never been near a work site sometimes. I'm not suggesting that's the case in all cases. Yeah. The British Rail Rule Book, or the was always created from a sense of tragedies and disasters. I mean, the other thing with accidents, there's often not only one cause. There's a lot of little things that are inconsequential on their own and snowball into a bigger issue. So, okay, yeah. I mean, customer practice can come into it. But I'm going to put this out there. There's some very good health and safety managers. I've had the privilege of working with quite a few of them. Yeah. There's others who I was peripheral to who actually enjoy getting people sacked as well. So, yeah, which is not good or healthy, pardon the term. But maybe we are working at making things too safe. When I say that, yes, you can't be safe enough. If you're working at height, it's better to have a scaffold than somebody up a ladder. Yeah. And it's normally the quick jobs where the accidents happen. Yeah. Oh, it's a 10-minute job to get the ladder out. It could be a 15-minute, 20, 25-minute job to get the scaffold up. Yeah. Well, the ladder will collapse and somebody will get injured, as opposed to spending another 10 minutes getting some safe system in place. Okay. Are any of us paid enough to lose our lives in our job? Yeah, I agree with this. But maybe we're now talking about more and more having electronic systems in our safety and things like this, additional safety systems on top, which we become reliant upon. Yeah. Now, the other side, I was always told the best person to be responsible for their safety, or my safety, is me. Yeah. And I know this from looking in Brazil, walking along the street in Brazil. I'm responsible for my safety in Brazil. Yeah. Nobody's going to come to my aid. I can't claim off anything and all that. You learn to have more spatial awareness, understand what's around you, not rely too much on anything else. Yeah. Rather than do this job for 5 minutes, maybe it lasts 15 minutes if you're doing it safely. Yeah. There's a tendency for people to dive in there and try and get things done. That's human nature. But then if you're adding additional, if you like, safety features in, you're taking the ability of the person doing the job away from thinking for themselves. Yeah. It's like you're making it too safe to the point, I won't say it becomes soft, but they come too reliant on other features around them. Yeah, I know exactly what I'm saying here. Yeah. When I worked on the railway, I knew there's a possibility of a train coming. Yeah. I had lookouts and everything else. When I was responsible for it, I set up a safe system of work. I was in charge of sites. So I always had it every so often look down and check the lookouts were in place. Yeah. If I saw one looking up to the sky, I'd call everyone off the track and go and have a quiet word with them, or not so quiet word with them. Yeah. It's a boring job being a lookout, admittedly, and I don't. Yeah, I've done it myself. I know this. Yeah, you should change them regularly. Um, but yeah, I think that we're going to have to start thinking if we're going to start introducing nice electronic systems, we need to be thinking about the end user, what we're doing for them. Are we actually make it safer for them? They're relying on an additional system to tell them when something's gone wrong. That might fail. Yeah. Yes. Without them, we have human error. So again, that's a balance to be made. Possibly an additional system that's dedicated to just doing one job is less likely to fail. But do we count upon it? Yeah. So can we make something too safe? When I remember Fred Dibner climbing up the side of a ladder, climbing up the side of a chimney. You watch how carefully he went up. He tried to play at the lad. He knew exactly where he was. His spatial awareness was there at all times. Yeah. He knew that one footing, that was it, game over. One misfoot, foot in the wrong place. He was very careful. He wasn't complacent. By introducing more and more safety systems and requirements, we could be making people more and more complacent as well. So we have to remember human nature as well. Well, with that, Steve, over to you if you've got any views or opinions about what I've just said about.
Yeah, sure. Health and safety at work. There's a novelty. When I was a lad, one of my first um, experiences about health and safety at work. Remember, I told you the first job I had when I left school, I worked at a slaughterhouse.
Yes. Yeah.
And there was one fine day where the overalls that we used to use
Mm.
were rented, and they used to come from the laundry every
Yeah.
day,
Yeah.
and we used to get our clean overalls every day. So
Mm.
only this one day, for some
Mm.
reason, a lot of the overalls were ripped or they had their arms missing. It was almost like a reject pile of the overalls.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't have any buttons or and all these overalls were substandard overalls.
Mm.
And the management came and said, "I tell you what, if you use these overalls, because people were complaining about them,
Yeah.
if you use these overalls, we'll give you an A bonus." There was two bonuses
Yeah.
installed,
Mm.
A bonus and B bonus.
Yeah.
The A bonus was a top bonus, and the B bonus was a smaller bonus.
Yeah.
If you use these overalls, you'll all get an A bonus.
Mm.
And so, of course, we all said, "All right, that's all right." So, I went to work without an arm in my overall,
Mm.
and went off and did my job. When
Mm.
I got through. If I was a job's worth,
Mm.
we would have said for sure not,
Mm.
because it doesn't protect us fully. I
Yeah.
mean, some part of what we do is involved with boiling water. Some of it is involved with flames.
Mm.
Um, some of it is even brushing up to raw meat. You could contaminate the meat if you use your if with your bare arm. You
Yeah.
know, don't know if you had a bath last night or whatever it was.
Mm.
But you could. And so, but anyway, we topped it and we went. And life went on. In terms of building site accidents, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
This is because of individuals that fail to take necessary precautions because of either comfort or because of speed.
Yes.
So you talk about scaffolding, if
Mm.
people fall from scaffolding, it's because they weren't wearing the harness.
Mm.
Now, many would say that if you wear the harness, you're restricted as to where you can move to.
Yep. Yeah.
And what I would say is if that's the case, then put on a longer rope on your harness.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
that will give you that more leeway
yeah,
that you can move a little
course,
bit
yeah.
more.
Yeah.
You get people who are working downstairs and they don't on a hot day and they won't wear a hard hat. They might wear a cap, the plasterers.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't wear boots, steel toe boots. They wear
Yeah.
training suits
Yeah.
because all they're doing, of course, is this.
Mm. Yeah.
But of course, they're oblivious to the fact that something could fall on them
Mm.
and create a problem for them.
Mm.
So a lot of the times and the thing is, if the foreman comes and sees that they're inadequate, if he takes them off the job stops,
Yeah.
and they're paid to do the job.
Well, yeah.
They're only going to
That's it.
get paid when the job's done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So although there are rules and regulations,
Mm.
and I'm sure that many building firms try to implement as many safety standards as they can, as the law requires.
Yes.
It's up to the individuals to comply. And if they don't comply and they have an accident, unfortunately,
Yeah.
it's the company that carries the burden,
Mm.
And sometimes I don't feel that's fair because
Yeah.
you can't be looking around every corner and looking around
Yeah.
every corner and looking up every chimney to see
Yeah. I
if
mean,
everybody's behaving.
yeah, I was a site manager and that was my job to do it. But yes, it's a stressful job. Yes. Not stressful, but yeah.
Rural work,
Yeah.
that is rife for accidents,
Yeah.
um, mainly because it's the farmer and his
Mm.
hand
Mm.
that is going to do the work,
Mm.
and there are no checks and balances. It's a
Yeah.
proper farmer.
Yes.
So if his machine one day, if the guard comes off his machine and it needs welding to put it back on again,
Yeah.
to repair, put it back on again, he might say, well, I'll do this later on this afternoon. Let's
Yeah.
carry on just for today without the guard.
Yeah.
And that's when, of course, when his arm gets taken to the
Yeah.
machine.
Yeah. I remember that years
So,
ago. Yeah. Yeah. The guy carried his arm.
I mean, I'm sure it
Yeah.
happens these days.
Yeah.
Once again, when I was a kid, we used to go pea pulling and we used to go um, potato picking.
Yeah.
And I was a kid. I was like 13, 14 years old. And when you got about 30, 40 children running behind your tractor,
Yeah.
What can go wrong?
I know. Yeah.
Is a very high risk.
Yeah.
But the thing is that the potatoes needed to be taken out of the ground as quickly
Yeah.
as possible, and the
Mm.
peas needed to be picked as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And so the farmer had to get the labor that he could get,
Mm.
and basically no training was given,
Yeah.
even though you might be working with sharp knives,
Mm.
but no training is given. There's just
Yeah.
not enough. Um, I'm sure the government fining government is going to be just for show,
Of course it is. Yeah.
right? What would make it better is that if government sacked government employee for being inadequate, and I think that would be better because everything would run a lot smoother.
Well, yeah.
Just robbing Peter to pay Paul,
Mm.
because Peter's going to get it back in the way in the future because he's going to be asking for more money in the budget.
That's it. Yeah.
So unless the money's going to out some victim of the public, because all government workers are public servants, and so if you mention the trains, even though a lot of the train companies these days are private, but
Yeah.
anyway,
Well,
if a member of the public has an accident on the
okay.
train,
Yeah.
and there is a fine or there's a compensation, it goes to the member of the public and not sloshing around the internal system of governance.
Well, again, yeah, there's sort of reward, well, not rewards, as in good things, but yeah, I could tell you that, yeah, it's not always that easy to win as a government employee to anything if they can prove that you were negligent in your end of it all.
You know, that's why they have investigations.
Yeah,
And so if the
exactly. Yeah.
investigations can't find it, then there's nothing you can do about it. If they can find it, then that's when you go for the high jump.
Yeah,
Simple
I mean,
as
so
that. Unfortunately, they find it and you just get transferred to another post. And
yeah,
that's ridiculous. You know,
well,
that's
yeah.
ridiculous.
Well, no, I do know people that have been, yeah, removed from their sacked career over. Yeah, it's happened to people equivalent around me. Yeah, I mean, I was always taught as a site manager, your main job is to protect yourself. While you're protecting yourself, you're protecting the interests of the company. But again, I was in the private sector. Yeah,
Well, that's different.
yeah,
Private sector is different than government.
yeah,
Than
exactly.
government.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
if you're in the government, yeah, it's difficult to get sacked from a government job. I will admit that. Even
Very
if you're, yeah,
different.
yeah, you have to go some to do it. Yeah.
Changing the standards of safety
Mm,
or the system of
mm,
safety. Look, everywhere you go,
mm.
you're going to get somebody who wants to appear different than everybody else. We get the same in the universities when it comes to language.
Yeah.
There's always somebody that's going to think of something and it's going to say, right, from now on, we have to say this instead of that.
Yes. Yeah.
From now on, we have to say white instead of black.
Mm.
From now on, and so you're always going to get these. It's the individual that complicates the system. It isn't the
Yeah.
system
Yeah.
itself.
Great. Yeah.
The system was implemented. If it worked in the beginning stages, then it should always work as long as the system is a beta.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're always going to get somebody who wants to appear or to try and cut corners or to try and be different.
Yeah.
And you know, it's the individual. It's not necessarily the system.
Yeah.
You know, I used to work at a place I told you about this called Computer Center.
Yes.
And the supervisor, where in the department that I worked, his idea of reducing products on the shelves was to pack them in tighter and put his head below the sand like an ostrich,
Yeah.
thinking he doesn't have a problem. And that's when I came along and we built this system that once a system, because they didn't really have a system.
No.
They had sort of a system.
Mm.
And this leads to all sorts of wonderful
Yeah.
ideas. And
Yeah.
so when we made the database, that resolved it all. As long as the system is adhered to.
Yes.
The system that we made is that everything is noted where it is, when it came in, when
Yeah.
it went out.
Yeah.
It's very simple. When they did a stock take, some of the girls in the offices changed the places where the things were, so that when I looked up where the thing was and I went to find it, I couldn't find it.
Yeah.
And why? And I asked them, why on earth did you do that?
Yeah.
They said because we put it all in one space, you know, to pack it in.
Mm.
And I said, well, no, that's not the point of the system. The system is to know where everything is, and I can't find it now.
Mm.
You know, and we had a huge argument about that.
Mm.
Huge argument about that. But I said you have to look now and put it all back to where it was. Even if there was one thing on a huge shelf,
Yeah.
you know, you don't take it from there and put it somewhere else because you think it's going to save space, because you lose track of where it is. It's the individuals and not the system.
Well, it's like anything. Any system is good until you have a human involvement in it, admittedly. Yeah. I mean, that's the qualities. What you made is what we now call a quality system, quality control system.
That's
Yeah?
right. That's right. Well, I'll talk about systems in general.
Yeah, but I agree with you.
No matter what it is.
Yeah.
If the system works, abide by the system.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong.
I mean, if you can see a better way of doing it, then maybe, yeah, inform somebody. I'll suggest this, and then that can be reviewed. But that's a different matter. Yeah,
Which is exactly what we did. Which is what I did. So
yeah. Yeah.
I said there's got to be a better way. Let's sit down, think about it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Individual responsibility, of course it is. If you are wanting to put yourself in harm's way. It's your choice.
Yeah.
If somebody there's a difference between being negligent and having an accident.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And if you're found to be negligent,
Mm.
then I don't think there should ever be compensation paid to you. There should never. If you there are people that do some really silly things, hurt themselves,
Yeah.
and then claim compensation from a
Mm.
company. And I don't think that should ever,
Well,
ever.
sometimes there's payouts to avoid lengthy things as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but even so, well, unfortunately, the legal system as it is
Mm.
will always side with the victim
Yeah.
in these sort of cases, even though the victim, he did it to himself.
Yeah. I mean, I've got to be honest. I've had accidents in the workplace. Yeah, I've got a couple of cuts on my hands for different things, and I was a silly boy. Yeah, hands up, I was a silly boy. And I had the ambulance chasers say to me, "You should be doing this and doing that," and people and I say, "Not interested." And I told my boss, he said, "Are you going to come after me?" I said, "What for?" I said, "I'm not going to go in court and say, well, you didn't train me, yeah, not to do this stupid thing, yeah, because that looks bad on me." Um, I took the blow. I've got back to work as soon as I can the next day in a lot of cases where people said, "Oh, you should have had weeks off." No, I don't need it. Yeah, and okay, it's coordination, all that. Yeah. Okay, you can look at any one incident, and like I said, there's always a load of little things why it happens, bit of time, other factors. Yeah. Being aware of what you're doing at all times is important. It's not always a thing. You've also the human brain, if you're doing a repetitive job, you have to have a stop for a few minutes. Yeah. To get your brain. I think it's about 13 minutes or something, ideally, or 12 and a half. Yeah. And then, yeah, or when you start feeling tired, get up, or if you feel you've just made a mistake and all that, step back for 2 minutes. Yeah, get your brain back into a position and do it again. And I was taught this in later when I was actually doing a safety vigilance course. Yeah, because I was a sort of a manager level. Yeah, and how to cascade because they didn't want. The thing is, they didn't want to do investigations. They wanted to prevent the investigations having to be done in the first place. So actually making people think like that. Yeah. Almost what would the investigation think if I don't do this? Yeah. So there's a little bit more of an openness coming through, which I was pleased to see, which really surprised me because this was before I've just read about these accidents. Yeah. What's going on? Now I'm beginning to wonder, or is it that they're just dragging more and more people into the industry without the training? And we all have to have training to do things we're doing. Yeah. If you're doing plant, yeah. I've even just seen people use hammers incorrectly. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Everybody thinks you can use a hammer. It's where you hold your thumb. Some people, yeah, hit their hand. Yeah, okay, that's a small thing. And yeah, I've had arguments with people on site over minor accidents where they've slipped the spanners. And as a site manager, I got questioned, why did you let them do it? Well, the guy showed me he had a competence certificate. Yeah. At that point, he took responsibility. Yeah. I said I could stand over everyone. I can't stand over everyone on site. I walk around, did my vigilance. Yeah. Go up to someone. Is there anything you need? Is everything all right? But you don't disturb people because then you become a hazard yourself. Yeah. But yeah, it's an interesting, yeah, taking responsibility for your own actions. And that is what's going away in the world a little bit as well. Yeah. If I do something stupid, hopefully, yeah, it won't kill me. And as I had a manager once said to me, he said, yeah, most accidents we can cover, just don't get anyone killed. That's difficult to cover up. Yeah. Not cover up, sorry, to work around. Yeah. Nobody should cover up anything. Everything's a lesson learned. But yeah, we all make mistakes. We're all human. We have to try and avoid the big mistakes that sit on top of the little mistakes and allow something big to happen. And that's my final training course was. So again, I'm very, very surprised, having left the UK, to see this rise in fatalities. Yeah. So
Well, it could be like lack of communication. Like, for example, you mentioned that people used to shout when the trains come in on
Yeah, yeah.
repair a bit of track or bit of something
That's
around the
very
track.
nice, yeah.
Well, I mean, what would be handy, like, is if the person there had a timetable of the trains. So, for example, if the train was to come by at 3 o'clock, they
Yeah.
knew that it'd be around about 3:30 when the train comes by, because they're
That
always late.
that's an interesting. We were always taught not to use timetables because timetables could be for passenger. Um,
Well, but for freight as well,
Not always.
because
Yes.
I'm sure that freight trains will have to
Yeah,
run
they're
at this.
timetabled in,
Of
but yeah,
course, they
you don't often see it. I mean, yeah, if you know there's an active piece of track, you should have a lookout. Two or three lookouts if required, however they're placed. Or we did used to
have.
have other systems that were manually operated that gave an alarm. Yeah,
Yep, sure, and also radio it
yeah,
would help.
yeah. Well, that's
You know,
what.
the train's leaving now.
Yeah,
It'll be there in about 4 minutes time.
yeah. Well, yeah. We had all these systems. That's when I was very surprised in 2019 that two guys got hit because they'd introduced safe red and green zone working by that time.
It's probably two guys that were almost finishing a job, thought, 1 minute or 2 minutes won't make any difference for us to finish the job.
Oh,
And of course, 125 went past rather quickly,
yeah. Well, yeah.
and that was the end of that. I mean, I don't know the rule. I don't know the details of that.
No, no. I
So
mean, when you
better for
read
me
it,
to.
yeah,
But you can understand
yeah,
the the an- um the anxiousness of somebody to finish their task.
yeah,
That they throw caution to the wind,
mm,
not realizing they're throwing that much caution to the wind
yeah,
just to finish their task,
yeah,
and also that's when it happens.
yeah.
You were on about Fred
Dibner.
Dibble.
Yeah.
The thing is, have you seen these guys that do parkour? They go somersaulting on buildings
Oh,
and
yeah, yeah. The free
chasing.
running,
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's called parkour.
yeah,
And the videos that we see on YouTube are very much like the video, the image, the images we saw on Blue Peter
yeah,
and on the BBC with
mm,
Fred
yeah,
chinning up the chimney.
yeah,
Like you said, he's very careful,
mm,
but he didn't just one day shinned up a
no,
chimney.
no,
He trained himself
yeah,
very, very carefully,
mm,
even to become boring to watch,
yes,
so that he knew exactly what he was doing. The same with the parkour guys.
yeah,
You only see the end product. You only
yeah,
see them jumping and leaping and sprinting and
yeah,
rolling, and you have to watch them train to
yeah,
do that to realize that it's not as haphazard as you think it
no,
might well be.
no,
The runs that they do between buildings have been planned,
yeah,
have been practiced,
yeah,
have been, and if you've got a huge drop between
mm,
two buildings, they'll practice that on the ground.
yeah. They'll make sure they clear the distance. Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
And so that it's not a case of suck it and see.
No,
Remember,
that's really, yeah.
remember
We
that.
were talking yesterday about that. Yeah, that
Yes.
phrase. Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah, yeah,
so that although it looks dangerous, uh, a lot of the time it isn't, because it's
no,
all been highly trained.
yeah. They know what they're doing. They're virtual stuntmen. I mean, yeah,
Uh,